Hello, everyone. Welcome. You survived. It's the end of the day. I'm super proud of you for making it to this final talk. I know if I was visiting from out of town, I'd probably be taking a nap right now in my hotel room, so round of applause for you. Hopefully you're in the right room. This is obviously the title of the talk here. Let me entertain you how theater influenced building a developer community. That is me in the photo. I just have different glasses on, so don't worry. I'm the right person. All right, so who are you? So a little bit about me. I'm a developer evangelist at Sentry.io. If you're unfamiliar with Sentry, we're an open source error logging and reporting tool that fixes crashes in real time. I'm a writer. If you're looking at me and you're like, she looks so familiar, where do we know her from? I'm the girl giving the thumbs up in the wine cave full of men at a tech conference. Definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested on what the female experience is at events like these, although I'm very happy to see a lot of women here at GitHub Universe. Yay, GitHub. I'm also a Hackbright Academy graduate. Hackbright is a 12-week software engineering boot camp based in San Francisco. It's all female with the mission to change the ratio of women in tech. I am a former actress. Don't worry, there's going to be a lot more quirky photos of me doing musical theater throughout this presentation, so there's a lot more of those to come. We'll get back to that in a little bit. And also, I'm a frequent Twitter user. If you're on Twitter, definitely tweet at me during this presentation. Take photos, totally doesn't bother me, but for those of you like in the front row, just make sure they're flattering, like no like under the chin stuff. It was a joke, ha! To talk about bringing comedy and entertainment to technology. So you have permission to laugh during my presentation. In fact, please laugh. If you don't laugh, it makes the presentation look really bad, so just laugh at everything, it's fine. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. That's my Twitter handle. It's gonna be at the bottom of every slide, so feel free to quote me, all the quirky, weird things that I say in this presentation. Alrighty, so hi. My name is Chloe, and I'm a recovering actress.
Hi, Chloe.
Hello. Yeah, so I have to come clean. I was not always a quirky blonde girl who wears bows in her hair, gives technical talks, writes blogs, does the occasional tech conference keynote here or there. I was actually a quirky blonde girl who wore a lot of bows in her hair, went to countless commercial auditions, and briefly worked as a children's birthday party entertainer, which is honestly a whole other talk that I need to give at some point in my life. So here's a couple photos from my previous life as an actress. So we have me as Fiona in Shrek the Musical. Yes, Shrek is a musical available on Netflix. I'm not in the Netflix one though, sadly. This is me in a Frank Sinatra musical that was not very good. This is me as Penny in Hairspray. This is a bunch of men lifting me up on their shoulders. I don't remember what show this was. And this is me in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which is a show that I feel I live out every single day of my life. But one thing has stayed constant throughout my life, throughout those many years of being an entertainer, something that I bring into all my work, especially as an engineer, and that is wearing a lot of bows. I've got a bow here, I got a bow tattoo. But seriously, actually the thing that I bring into everything that I do as an engineer is entertainment, but I still wear a lot of bows. Gotta be true to who I am. So a little bit of background on me. As I mentioned, I'm a non-traditional background engineer. Both of my parents were artists. My dad is a director playwright, and my mother was a costume designer, graphic artist. Growing up, I was around computers a lot, and I used computers quite a bit. My dad was a professor at a university, brought home a Macintosh Plus, black and white, super exciting, and we were able to type Word docs and print them out, and then rip those little things off the side of the printer paper. I actually learned all of my spelling and my numbers through a program called the Playroom. Any Playroom fans out there? One, yes. I actually didn't learn my colors from this game because mine was in black and white. But I still have a lot of number associations with the games that I played in that game, so it was on computers a lot. And this eventually transitioned into me learning what all the files and programs did. but I didn't know what an engineer was. Both of my parents were artists. I'm sure I asked them a couple times, how are computers made? And I would picture literal men in lab coats with hammers, physically putting a computer together. In fact, that's kind of how I viewed an engineer up until about 3 or 4 years ago, before I started learning how to program. And the fact that I'm here speaking to you today at a tech conference is kind of a miracle in itself. There certainly weren't any engineers in my life. There were no female engineers, for that matter, on television or anything like that. So I came to tech a lot later in life. So I went into the arts thinking it was a profession that I could support myself with. I really had my blinders on. I did musical theater summer camp. I ended up going to a performing arts high school. I got my 4-year BA in drama. As my boyfriend loves to remind me, I have a drama degree because I'm very dramatic. And reality really set in when I did my first big musical in San Francisco, which is this lovely rainbow photo that you're seeing right here, Xanadu the musical. I had a cardboard cutout of myself in the lobby, and I was in the paper, and people were sending me all these things on Facebook, seeing me everywhere, and I thought, I've made it! And then they handed me $350 for 3 months of my work. So I quickly realized I needed a day job. So I was working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, various different technical roles that weren't engineering. So this included office management, EA work. I was a virtual personal assistant. I worked at a video game company for a while. So I was doing everything but engineering. I was supporting the engineers, but really didn't know what these dudes who rolled in around 11, wore a lot of Patagonia, were doing. No one really sits you down when you're getting a theater arts degree and asks you, do you know how much money you're going to make as a performer? I wish they do, but it's not part of the curriculum, unfortunately. So it wasn't until I heard a talk at Google that was all about getting young women interested in computer science that I really knew that software engineering was something that I could do. So I started to take various online tutorials and classes, and eventually ended up attending Hackbright Academy. And fast forward to today, and now I'm here. Hackbright is a 12-week program. You learn recursion in a day. They don't call it a boot camp for nothing. Preparing for whiteboarding interviews is a lot like preparing to go into combat. I think we can all relate there. So there's a couple shocking realizations when transitioning from theater to tech, and I will go over them now. As someone who performed in musicals from the tender age of 4, I spent about 20 years in an industry that was the exact opposite of Silicon Valley. For one, the gender balance is opposite. I have really, really great news for any men in the audience who can kind of carry a tune and can sort of act. There are a lot of parts for you out there that you can get. So highly recommend auditioning for those. Usually I would go to an audition, there would be about 40 to 50 women going out for the same role. Maybe like 4 men would roll into the audition, book in all the parts. Maybe a hobo would wander in too and book Sweeney Todd, the lead in the show. Because of this, tech is a lot less competitive. So it's a much less competitive industry. I went into this world where 40 to 50 women would be going out for the same role to tech companies on LinkedIn reaching out to me all the time. So that was a stark contrast. People do not sing as much. Musical theater people tend to break out into song and dance a lot more. I also get paid a living wage. I get paid to do something that I like, and there's skill involved. That's very cool. And also, I did not lose out to jobs because of the following reasons: my weight, my ethnicity, my ability to tap dance, not having a believable Italian/Bronx dialect, my parents' donation to a theater, having an affair with the director, my ability to belt a high C, which I can do, or my gender. So I wish that this was a joke, but these are all actual reasons that I didn't get jobs as an actress. It's really nice to work in an industry where the effort that I put in, I get back. But actually, one of the biggest differences between tech and theater is that meetups, event content, and just tech in general were pretty boring. So even when it came to what I would consider boring or bad theater, there was at least some sort of amount of fun or comedy or camp involved with it. That's why we go to the theater, right? To be entertained. And when I first started giving talks at conferences about 2 years ago, I thought I was bombing. I would throw in a bunch of GIFs and jokes and puns, and my shtick would just be met with blank expressions, very stoic looks. And the one person who would keep me going would be the nodder. And has anybody given a technical talk before or spoken at a meetup? Yeah, okay, so you look out in the audience and there's that like one person who's like, I see you, yes, I'm agreeing with the things that you're saying. Shout out to the nodders, you do God's work. You help us speakers realize that everyone is awake at, 2:40 right now. I get it, there's always the occasional sleeper, time zones are very difficult, I understand. But I found that I was having to give disclaimers before I was giving talks, like I did before this talk, where I said, it's okay to laugh, please laugh. I tell a lot of dad jokes, usually I say something to that effect. And this usually gets a laugh and kind of breaks the ice and get things going, and then people hear one of the quirkiest talks they've ever heard because, surprise, musical theater actress. But why do I have to do this? Why do I have to give this disclaimer? What is it about tech conferences, events, keynotes, meetups that we've really grown accustomed to, even in online tutorials for that matter, where we've gotten used to monotonous speakers, grainy footage, cold pizza, warm beer, a speaker on stage who's giving the body language that they would literally rather be anywhere else than giving this talk. So I, of course, understand that musical theater is an entirely different medium than technical talks. It's not called the entertainment industry for nothing. But even some of the worst shows, and you guys, I have seen some of the worst shows. I've been going to theater since I was about 3 or 4 years old. I saw a one-man Christmas Carol once, where a person played every single part, and I had no wine before that show. So I've seen some very bad theater, but even then, there were some entertaining aspects of that show. And I'm still talking about it today, and it's still funny to me. But as someone who came from the musical theater world, tech felt a lot like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Does anybody know Tim Calhoun? Okay, well, I'm about to play a clip from it. Hopefully we have sound here. Probably recognize it. See if we can hear it. Should be some sound here.
Tim Calhoun, and I'm running for the office of President of America, United States. A lot of people are wondering, who is Tim Calhoun? Well, I want to tell you now who is Tim Calhoun. Tim Calhoun, is...
You get the idea. So obviously that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it was quite polarizing to go from musical theater to tech talks and meetups. And as a non-traditional background engineer, I'm a big advocate for folks who come to tech by way of any other industry. That can be an actress turned engineer. It can be like my friend Robert, who's a horticulturist turned engineer, who's attending Holberton and just got his first role. It can be opera singer turned engineer. This is my friend Catherine. She gives an amazing talk I highly recommend looking up called Mozart Would Have Been a Great Engineer, all about the parallels of music to software engineering. This is my friend Elaine, who's also a Holberton student. She was an elementary school teacher before going into programming. She interned for us at Century. And this is my coworker Dina's mentee, who was a professional Muay Thai fighter before she went into software engineering. So there's so many different paths that you can take to get to this point. You get the point. There's a lot of diverse perspective that we can really take value from in this industry. And when I first began my journey into tech and decided to attend Hackbright Academy, I felt a lot of conflicting feelings about my BA in theater from San Francisco State University. If I could build a time machine, I would go back in time and use all my tuition money to buy a house in San Francisco circa 2007, learn how to code online, just feed off of all of the free pizza at tech meetup events, and then I would be probably a billionaire now with the giant house I bought with no money, but inflation, right? So I was 26 years old. I had what I considered a useless degree, and I was about to attend Hackbright. I thought, what a waste of my time. So 2 years later, I feel a lot different about my 4-year theater degree. Sure, I took some bizarre classes where I did an improvised musical about a skeleton woman. That is not a joke, that is a true story. I was also in a musical about playing chess in the Cold War. And who could forget when my dad came all the way from Sacramento to see me play Young Whore #2 in my very first main stage musical. That's me, the little short person there. However, that four-year degree has taught me a whole lot of things that I use on a daily basis as an engineer that a lot of people who have a traditional computer science degree haven't been exposed to. So while I was an actress, I was typically cast as one of two roles, two types, if you will. One was the ingenue. So if you're unfamiliar with the ingenue, she's usually the romantic love interest. She's the lead of the show. She has a lot of pretty songs. And then if I wasn't the ingenue, I would be playing the quirky sidekick. So think Donkey and Shrek, and then for ingenue, think Disney princess. I love to make people laugh. I really love the quirky sidekick roles more than I do the leading roles. I really love the science of a joke, finding the perfect timing, the rule of three, figuring out just the perfect way to land a joke. And it really is my drug of choice. I get a lot of satisfaction from hearing people laugh. When I got to play Penny in Hairspray, it was some of the most fun I've ever had. I just got to be really quirky and weird on stage, and it was super enjoyable. I got to wear all these crazy wigs, and there's really no better feeling than making people laugh. So imagine, I'll let you read this. I'll give you a second to read the description. It says, Devin Dinkelman grew up in San Francisco, lives in West Village, started an app company called Chadley, was Evan Spiegel's fraternity brother, has 11 pairs of Allbirds, stoked because he crushed the 28-day keto diet. That could be a description of my boyfriend, honestly. No shame there. I have a lot of Allbirds as well. But giving tech talks is about as close as I get to performing these days. I don't do musical theater anymore, other than the occasional karaoke session. So naturally, when I began to give these technical talks, I wasn't sure how my sense of humor would land with a mostly white, male, 30-something audience who wears a lot of Patagonia. As I mentioned before, I started giving permission in my talks for people to laugh. And I began kind of changing my approach to not only writing talks, but also creating content, building communities, establishing a personal brand. In short, I just really wanted people to have fun and to make people laugh. Also, this is the Instagram account for this meme, and I highly recommend following it. It's called Midtown Uniform. Definitely check it out. Add it on the gram when you have a chance. And now, for something completely different, there's sound with this. So this, well, I'll give you the description after. I'll let you try to figure it out.
Wow, the sun is big and the sun is bright. The color of the sun, sunlight. Oh, yellow is the color, you color it right. 'Cause yellow is the color of the sun. Well, the sun is huge and the sun is hot, so the colors we choose.
Okay, so I'm the person in the yellow with a wig on. So I used to do children's theater back in the day, and yes, this is me playing a crayon in The Day the Crayons Quit. I played yellow crayon and blue crayon. I'm a very diverse performer. I can play many colors of the rainbow. And after doing these shows, I would be exhausted. There is not enough Red Bull in the world to perform for 40 children between the ages of 5 to 7 for 2 hours every day. If you've ever attended a children's theater show, or if you watch children's television, I'm sure we've all at least seen a little clip of Sesame Street, you'll notice that there's a lot of color, movements, sound, songs. It's a sensory experience all around. So this is on purpose. Why? Because children aged 5 to 6 typically can only attend to one activity that's of interest to them for about 10 to 15 minutes before they get totally disinterested and distracted. I'm also willing to bet that many adults have an even shorter attention span. I know for me personally, even when I'm sitting watching a technical talk, I'm just itching to grab my phone, even if I'm in an OKR meeting or something. So what is it about this content that we are digesting as engineers? Do you ever notice yourself kind of getting distracted? So there's science behind this. That is why memory hooks are so important. Memory hooks, because we all have the attention span of a toddler. Making people laugh is one of the fastest ways of breaking down the barriers between strangers and winning people's goodwill. Now, a memory hook doesn't have to be funny. It can also be emotional. It can pull at our heartstrings. Think Don Draper in Mad Men when he would give those very heartfelt pitches in the marketing room. I encourage you to do your own research on memory hooks, but for this one I'll be focusing more on the humorous aspect of things. So someone who does this really well is Sentry, in particular my coworker Richard, who runs all our content at Sentry.io. One of the reasons that I decided to join Sentry was actually this particular line on the website. So this is how an engineer talks, right? I'm so used to going on corporate websites and seeing a line that's like, we are an enterprise software. So this really made me want to work for this company. I thought, okay, this is how real people talk. I want to work with these people. Also, on the blog, every employee got a welcome GIF. And I will show you a couple of my favorites right now. So here's Aaron eating some donuts and making some donuts. There's some more donuts. Just gonna roll out the donuts here. Yum. Okay. So every employee, when they start at Sentry, gets a welcome GIF, a blog post welcoming them to the team. And these looked like people that I wanted to work with, especially if they're eating a lot of donuts. Here's another one of my faves. This one is for Lauren. So you have to remember, we are a open source error logging and reporting tool. Erin's putting on her Ash Ketchum hat here. This wild Venonat has appeared. We're getting Sentry out there. Sentry used stack trace. Lauren used releases. It's all in real time too. Like, I feel like this is the exact length that it takes to catch a Pokemon, right? Exception was caught. Oh, okay, you laughed, cool. And then, of course, this ode to 80s movies that our PM, Sarah, did, where she's trying on all these lovely outfits. So after seeing these on the website, I thought, yeah, I want to work with these people. These people look really fun. I want to join this team. Now, isn't this way more memorable than other career pages that you've seen? Definitely worked for me. I highly recommend checking out Sentry's blog to see more. Every single employee has one. So as tech companies, having a sense of humor not only helps us humanize the product, but also our working environment. And by the way, Sentry is hiring, so hit us up at the booth afterwards if you're interested. Another way that we do this, in addition to our careers page and our blog, is through our content. So Sentry has some pretty quirky, fun content. Richard and I partnered on a series called Exception Perceptions, which is a technical series where we answer engineering questions about error reporting and even beyond that. These are 5-minute videos. Notice that they're 5 minutes long because the whole attention span thing. And we dive into technical topics, we talk about interesting industry topics, and we did a Star Wars 2-part series, episodes 1 and 2, the good episodes 1 and 2, because we all know episodes 1 and 2 in Star Wars not so great. You can definitely check these out online if you're interested at sentry.io/tutorials. This is a hologram. This is an episode where we're talking about using user behavior to diagnose front-end UI issues. Of course, you'll see there's a LaCroix in pretty much every shot, because I do enjoy a good LaCroix. We had a series where we were comparing logging to catching squirrels. So we had a fun little squirrel puppet that we were playing with for a lot of these. That squirrel puppet has gotten a lot of use in many of our GIFs, as you can see. Shout out to Matt, our hand puppet actor, who's also one of our DevOps engineers. Great actor, you should get an Emmy Award for that. And you don't have to work at a small, quirky company like Sentry to do this. Even larger companies like Microsoft have joined sort of the comedy quirk train. Here's an example of the open source show that I did with Bridget about logging errors and metrics. Oh my. Oh, before I do that, here's little tiny computers we're typing on once. This is actually a GitHub and Sentry episode of Exception Perceptions where we talked about Probot. And those are tiny computers that I bought off of the Wish app. And I highly recommend buying them. They're compact mirrors. So here's a video
have the ability to do that,
on Wish, the Wish app.
So yeah,
hit me up for a referral code afterwards.
They may not want, they may not be super interested in debugging your tool for you because they are trying to use tools to get their work done.
Exactly. And for example, I'm very visual.
So here I used a little bit of comedy in the demo application that I used.
That I prepared. So, as you can see, this is not a realistic application. It's built to throw errors.
It's a
which
totally
we probably wouldn't
normal
build
working
like this
app
in the real world. But I can kind of demonstrate what this would look like. So it's a simple voting application. I'm going to type in my...
Yeah, so that's just one example of how you can kind of add quirk in there. Also, a fun fact about this video, these are usually filmed in front of a green screen, but because Bridget's hair was green, we had to film it in front of this window. I just like to tell that story because it's funny. So at Sentry, fast forward to, we wanted to do a monthly meetup. And our 3 goals with this meetup were to engage with the community, create brand awareness, and to be authentic to the Sentry brand, which, as I mentioned, is pretty quirky. And our hope with doing this and having sort of this like entertaining meetup was that people would actually want to come back to it. Very different from the cold pizza, warm beer, usual situation that you have at meetups. All right. So your average meetup looks a little bit like this. You arrive, you grab a pizza, maybe a warm beer, you chat with the other attendees, you sit down, you hear someone, usually a recruiter, talk about how they're hiring, blah, blah, blah. First speaker comes up, usually always male, shamelessly plugs his company, tries to do a demo, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. Second speaker's very nervous, Wi-Fi's kind of shitty, you start to look at your phone, you kind of tune out, and you're questioning why you're here on a Wednesday night. Then you slither out as soon as you can. The event ran 45 minutes over. But at Sentry Scouts meetup, we wanted the following. Arrive, take a picture with a giant squirrel in front of a tent. You also ask someone to take a picture of you in our giant camp chair. You chat with other attendees. Quickly grab some s'mores, fondue, boozy hot chocolate, gushers, grilled cheese. Yes, they do still make gushers. You can get them on Instacart. Chloe comes out, that's me. Intros the PowerPoint karaoke speakers. You laugh a lot, the sugar is kicking in. The panelists come on stage, you learn about a new or familiar topic from a truly diverse panel of speakers. Someone performs a song. I've had some songs performed sometimes. You grab your patch and sticker, you get kicked out of the venue because you've stayed so long talking to other folks, but don't worry, there's an introvert option, which I'll read because it's kind of covered here. But the introvert option is you go home, post about how great the meetup was on Twitter, and you catch up on Westworld. So we really wanted the opposite of the traditional meetup. We wanted it to be fun, we wanted it to be engaging, we wanted it to be something that people talked about and brought their friends to next time. Do you hear about this meetup? They had hot chocolate and gushers. Did you know they made gushers still? So, real quick, I'm going to show you another thing that we did, which was, if I can find my cursor, we made a commercial. Here we go.
And then, before the meetup even started, they ran out of pizza. And he started to do a live demo of his product. And the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. We were just talking about old meetups that we've been to the past. Pretty spooky, am I right? We've all been there before. Meetups with the same cold pizza, boring speakers, weird topics. But let's be real, we're really there for the good conversation and maybe a couple free beers, but I digress. But what if there was a meetup that was fun? More talking, less listening. One with diverse speakers from all kinds of backgrounds to help kick off the conversation. That's looking great, y'all. And just for fun, what if we threw some camp food in the mix? Don't forget the boozy hot chocolate. Oh no, I couldn't, I'm working. Oh, thank you. And just for fun, what if we threw some patches in the mix? That's right, patches. We'll have limited edition patches and stickers commemorating each meetup. And yes, if you collect them all, we totally have a surprise for you at the end of the year. Look, we know you can go to a meetup any night of the week in SF, and we're here to make them a fun, open, engaging discussion with a campy theme. Get it? Nice. Our promise to you, we'll never pitch you, feed you cold pizza, make you sell Girl Scout cookies, or make you bored. So what are you waiting for? Come and join Sentry Scouts Meetup today.
But basically the intention with this video was to get people really excited about our meetup. We've also found that a lot of people have shared this video with their friends and said, hey, did you see that Sentry made a video for their meetup? It's really funny. But basically we got all of our engineers in the office, we went out on the town and filmed at a bunch of different locations, and this sort of served as a promotional tool for our meetup. We also update it every single time to showcase our speakers that we're gonna have at that event in particular. Okay, we also have commemorative patches and stickers for each event, and that look a little bit like this. So our designer, Cameron, who, funnily enough, designed the Octocat, designed a patch and a sticker for each event. So as you can see at the top, our first one is open source, our second one was DevOps, then we did UX, we did a security one, an arts and technology one, that one was my personal favorite. We did a chatbots one, a teamwork and collaboration, machine learning, and IoT was our very last one. And by gamifying it, we were really able to get people to not only want to come back, but we get a lot of repeat offenders, as I like to call them, who came and wanted to collect them all. But also, I think people just wanted to come back because they were having fun at a meetup. So, Century Scouts, a camp-themed meetup. So here's a couple photos from our meetups. This is from the commercial that you will watch later. You have to. It's really good. We have a mascot. So we partnered with Drake's Brewing Company for one of the events, and they brought along their little mascot with them, along with some Drake's beer. So people are encouraged to post on social media, which gets the word out about your meetup. Then we ended up buying our own squirrel because the raccoon was such a success that we had to get our own squirrel. Here's some of our snacks that we have, some of our camp decor that we put out. This is our little photo booth that we put together that is a tent. Our t-shirts are branded camp. Camp-like. We also do PowerPoint karaoke for every single one to kind of, you know when you go see a comedy show and there's a warm-up act? We kind of view it as that to get people out of their like code head that they've been in programming all day, where we put up a bunch of slides that the speaker has never seen before, and they have to improvise a PowerPoint presentation in front of it. It's very fun. We've gotten a lot of speakers to do that. Here's just some B-roll footage from one of our events that we did. We had Girl Scouts at this meetup because it was around Girl Scout cookie time, selling cookies. They did accept Bitcoin, which I thought was hilarious. There's the Girl Scouts. Look at how much fun everyone's having. Here's one of our panels that we had at GoDaddy. This is our UX panel. And as you can see, the panel is very diverse. We have women. We have all sorts of sizes and shapes and colors of people. Here's some of our snacks that we have. We have a Pop-Tart station, lots of LaCroix, lots of marshmallows. We've got a fondue station. Here's our Century Squirrel, once again. Girl Scouts, of course. And what we found by having all these fun, interesting snacks, activities, is people actually posted about it on social media, which I found to be very rare when I would go to meetups. Why? Probably because usually when I go to meetups, there wasn't really anything to write home or post about. So here's a tweet about our gummy. We have a lot of gummies that we put in a tackle box. There was a lot of Pinterest research done for this particular theme, as you can tell. This is from one of my favorite events that we did, the Arts and Technology Meetup. This is a picture of Caitlin Hova. If you can believe it, she designed and created that 3D printed violin. She also has synesthesia, which is when you hear music, you see color, and the 3D printed violin lights up to the colors that she sees as she plays it. It was really cool. She played it live. The dinosaur in the background just happened to be there. Great, okay, so commercial didn't work, but you can check out the commercial at home. So what's the response? Really positive. Making it gamified made for a lot of return guests. People were sharing on social all the time and telling their friends about it, bringing their friends back to the meetup. A lot of rotating topics, so not just making it about observability or about DevOps. Really made it so we got a diverse group of people coming to each event and then coming back. One of the most exciting things for me was at our security meetup. I did a show of hands to see who worked in security, and only a handful of them did. So some were genuinely coming to the event to learn more, or they considered themselves part of the Century Scouts community. Also learned from putting on this meetup that people love gummy worms. We've probably purchased about 5 pounds of gummy worms over the past 10 months. And people respond well to fun and engaging content. So our meetup is very, as the kids say, extra. It is very over the top. I lovingly call it the most extra meetup that ever meetupped. This is obviously an extreme example of using entertainment to create content and to create a meetup in particular. You don't have to buy a bunch of marshmallows and Cheetos and tents and camping gear to throw a good meetup. But try to think of ways that you can do this in your developer community that makes events, meetups more exciting. Why not bring something other than pizza to a meetup? Like, I don't know, literally any other food. Or even just start things off with a joke. There's a lot of ways that you can do this that aren't the literal way that we executed it. So this has been my mantra as a developer evangelist. Engineers are people too. They like to be entertained. It's simple, but it seems like a no-brainer, but I'm always shocked by how little as engineers we keep this in mind with what we do during our day-to-day. Doesn't it seem a little hilarious that I'm giving a talk on this? So maybe you hate public speaking, maybe you don't think that you're funny, maybe you don't have a team that creates some choice gifts, but this is not a call to action for everyone to develop content. This is more of a call to action to bring humor and entertainment into everything that you do. And joy. Why do we like HBO's Silicon Valley? Is it because it's a really realistic portrayal of everything? No, we would be crying if we were watching that. It's because they find the humor in all of the things that happen in our industry. Making people laugh is the fastest way to break down barriers and win over the audience. So try to think of ways that you can add some humor into an OKR meeting or bring pumpkin spiced Oreos into your next KPI meeting. Oh, Captain, my Captain, as Jared would say. So that is the end of my talk. I think we have a little bit of time for questions. If you are based in the Bay Area or you will be around on the 30th, we'll be doing a Spooky Stories Century Scouts. Think like Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon, but a little less Canadian, where we're going to have a bunch of developers talk about the worst bug security issue that they ever had. It'll be really fun. Costumes are highly encouraged. I will be dressed as Britney Spears in the full red jumpsuit, so definitely just come for that. And if anybody has any questions, I can take them now. Otherwise, I will be around the conference for the rest of the day. Anyone? Thank you.